Hello and welcome one and all ecology enthusiasts to the Florida Eco Chronicles. What do you want to learn about Florida's extraordinary biodiversity? My name is Jasmine and I'm joined today with Danny.
Hi, I'm Danny.
Katie. Hello. And Mason.
Yo, what up?
To discuss one of Florida's most endangered and revered ecosystems, the Florida scrub. Here we're going to discuss what challenges our scrub ecosystem and its inhabitants have been facing, as well as discuss what's currently happening with Florida scrub with expert Ralph Risch at Ocala National Forest.
Hi, Danny again. Before we can really dive deeper into why the scrub is disappearing, it's important to actually understand what the scrub is and what flora and fauna live there. Scrubs can vary, but they are usually pretty shrubby with lots of bushes and shorter trees, with some tall pines interspersed here and there. There will almost always be a variety of oaks, none of which generally get much taller than about 20 feet. There will also be lots of patches of bright white, dry sand. It's super well drained and it doesn't have a lot of nutrients in it, so the scrub plants have to be really well adapted to those tough conditions. This is why a good amount of scrub plants aren't common elsewhere, even here in Florida. There are also a handful of animals that only live in either specifically scrub or other related ecosystems that have a lot of the same characteristics. There's, of course, our golden boy, the Florida scrub jay, but we've also got the Florida mouse and the sand skink, who need dry, frequently burned scrub to maintain their sources of shelter and food.
Hi, it's Katie. In addition to what scrub is and what lives in it, we should also focus on where scrub is still remaining in Florida. The scrub ecosystem was once very prevalent across the entire state, found on high sandy ridges, but now it's only found in a few locations: the Lake Wales Ridge, the Atlantic Coast Ridge, and the Panhandle Coast. The Lake Wales Ridge was once up to 80,000 acres. It was eventually replaced by orange groves and subdivisions and is now down to just about 25,000 acres, most of which are now sanctuaries. The largest area of scrub remaining in the state is located in the Ocala National Forest.
Hey, I'm Mason, and lastly, I want to touch on why scrub is such a unique ecosystem that deserves channeling conservation efforts into. The scrub ecosystem is home to many unique fauna and flora, some only being found in scrub and nowhere else. The most famous endemic animal is the Florida scrub jay, which we'll come back to later with an expert interview. But there are also 40 endemic plants to scrub ecosystems, 20 being found only on the Lake Wales Ridge. Most of the endemic fauna and flora is classified as threatened or endangered by the federal government. The protection of these threatened species raises the question, why are we still losing so much scrub? Despite Florida scrub ecosystems being universally revered by Florida biologists and nature enthusiasts alike, we've seen a significant decline in the acreage of scrub left in Florida. Not only are our scrublands decreasing due to flat-out urban development, but even currently conserved scrublands still see habitat degradation due to a lack of fire management in surrounding suburban communities.
Exactly. And like Katie mentioned earlier, scrub only occurs on ridges, which are longer strips of land that are at a higher elevation, at least higher elevation for Florida, and with relative slopes on either side. This sadly makes scrub super valuable for development because it's going to stay dry and scenic basically all year long. So around 92% of what used to be here is already gone.
Yes, unfortunately there is definitely a general disregard for conserving scrub, and truthfully almost all of our Florida ecosystems. Since Florida is a popular retirement and tourist destination, we asked Ralph Risch what is actually happening to scrub currently.
Most scrub is that remains, aside from that's in Ocala National Forest and the Merritt Island National Seashore and the other places on Merritt Island, is in private hands. And a lot of that is already overgrown because of fire suppression. But it's also ideal for putting in Dollar Generals and McMansions. It's just that scrub is very easy to clear and very easy to develop. It's in upland, so it stays dry.
Right.
And the result of that is that it becomes prime real estate for development. But there's not that much of it left.
It's important to hear from experienced biologists how development is really destroying scrub right now. You know, if we allow Florida scrub to disappear, we'd also be saying goodbye to several iconic and endemic Floridian plant and animal species. Danny mentioned earlier the scrub jay, and it would be incredibly hard to swallow losing such a personable and important bird.
Exactly. And when you think of the scrub ecosystem, you think of the scrub jay. It begs the question, what is being done to conserve what's left of the Florida scrub? Of course, we have gorgeous stretches of scrub on conservation areas. Like Katie touched on earlier, Ocala National Forest is the largest stretch of remaining scrubland right now, and the Lake Wales Ridge, despite its rapid acreage decline over the last century, is another portion of scrub that's closest to us here at UCF. Unfortunately, though, not many measures further than simply conserving and maintaining the land are being made. There aren't currently any extensive restoration efforts being made to really increase the current amount of scrub present in the state. Ralph Risch also touched on why scrubs are so important to protect during our interview.
First of all, diversity in plant and animal life is important regardless. You never know what you're going to find, what natural compounds can be found that are going to be useful to human beings. For example, there's plenty of drugs that we use to treat a variety of things in society that were originally sourced from plants, and some of them can be reproduced through manufacturing processes and chemical processes, but a lot of them can't. Well, if you tear up a plot of anything, whether it's rainforest or scrub or boreal forest or anything, without knowing what's there first, any potential for the value of the compounds that are found in those plants is gone. That's one possibility. The other thing about Florida scrub is it tends to be in uplands. And the importance of that is that it has these very thick layers of sand. So it becomes aquifer recharge zones. So the water falls from the sky in the form of rain or sleet or snow. Of course, not here snow, but it works its way down through these, percolates through the soil, and as it does that, it gets cleaned out and eventually ends up in the aquifer. Well, the aquifer is where we get our water in Florida. And so upland zones like that are really, really critical to providing clean, fresh water. Now, certain things, yes, exactly, it provides the filtration.
Just like Ralph explained, we have so many underappreciated benefits to conserving scrub in Florida. We really hope that hearing from someone so experienced who has dedicated so much time to participating in scrub conservation that it can really help to inspire you all to take care of our local scrub ecosystems. We got to chat more with Ralph about the beloved scrub jay and what makes them so charismatic and important to scrub ecosystems here in Florida. Here's what he had to say.
And so I went and got my GREs, and I applied to grad school, and I was able to get in with the University of South Florida and with an advisor, Glenn Wolfenden. Now, I've always been interested in birds anyway. I first became interested in birds when I was in the kindergarten. And this was in Omaha, Nebraska, and my kindergarten teacher, Miss Dahl, this was sometime in September. Yeah, that was her name, was Miss Dahl, Doll, and she really was. She's actually my favorite teacher ever. Yeah, I'd go back to kindergarten anytime just so I could have naps in the middle of the day.
She made a good impact on you.
Yeah, I still nap. So anyway, so she came in one day to class with a silk handkerchief, and inside the silk handkerchief she showed us a ruby-throated hummingbird that had flown into her window and broken its neck. Oh. And it was just the most beautiful thing in the world to me.
They are really pretty.
It absolutely was, and ever since then I've been addicted to birds. Florida and studied scrub jays, and so I went and got an internship and a assistantship down at Archbold Biological Station under Glenn Wolfenden, and that's where I first learned and experienced scrub jays and started working with them. And then several years later, I was able, after I'd left school and gone back and got married in Washington State, I found out about the job available at Seminole State Forest in Lake County, and I applied for that, and lucky for me, I was the candidate they chose, and so I started working with them, and I was there for 16 years until September of 2022. Well, they interact in a variety of ways. Some of them are just fairly casual ways, like they see a caterpillar, they eat it. I guess it's not so casual for the caterpillar, but for the scrub jay it is. But their behavior is dependent on the organism with which they're interacting. For example, scrub jay goes and lands on top of an oak, and sits up there on top of the oak so it can cuss you out. The oak doesn't notice or care. It's pretty non-interactive. Scrub jays do like eating caterpillars, but the downside of eating a caterpillar is they tend to have these long fuzzy hairs, and those hairs tend to have toxins in them. Well, the scrub jays know how to deal with this, so they will grab a caterpillar by its head or by its tail, and they'll take it over to a branch, and then they'll just rub it back and forth on that branch over and over again, or so down into the stem.
Kind of.
Yeah, well, they're not. They're just rubbing the toxins. Yes. They're getting the toxins to come out, and they'll do that in the sand too. They'll take it and rub it in the sand until they're satisfied the toxins are gone, and then they'll eat it. I absolutely think there should be more protections on them for a couple of reasons. One, the Endangered Species Act doesn't just say you protect the species. It means you also have to protect the subspecies, which is not being done in Florida. There's a number of functionally subspecies in Florida. The genetic distance genetically, evolutionarily, between the various races of scrub jays in Florida is greater than the distance between the scrub jays in Florida and the western scrub jay. We can at least putatively the populations are secure. Merritt Island's going down a little bit, but it'll probably go up again. Ocala is generally pretty secure. We're sure that there's plenty of jays there. They just don't know exactly how many because there are so many places they don't have the personnel to check them all.
That's right.
But,
it's a big forest.
Right, it's a very big forest. But they're ostensibly secure there. But that's just 2 genetic units. All the rest are not secure with the exception of the one at Archbold. None of the rest are secure, and they really need to have more protection. And that the fact that they have not been given that protection under the Endangered Species Act is, I think, deplorable. I actually do think it would be a good idea. I think it would be very helpful. And if anyone who has an argument against it should ask the developers what they think, because the developers are all against it. So if the developers are against that, well, then clearly they think it would work. So yes, I absolutely think that it should happen. I think it would be a great idea, both from an educational standpoint.
Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. We hope you learned something new about the Florida scrub today, and stay tuned for our next episode on a really awesome ecosystem, the mangroves. Stay enthused, everyone.
Goodbye.
Bye.